Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Hey guys, I'm Stacey Mattinson here with sous chef Tessa, and today we're bringing you a garlic and dill sheet pan salmon recipe made with butternut squash and asparagus for American Heart Month. February is American Heart Month, which is all about raising awareness for cardiovascular disease here in the United States. Here in the United States, cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer for both men and women. So today's heart healthy principles are all about low salt, high fiber, and high potassium. Today I'm using a surprising ingredient, MSG seasoning, also sold here in the US as accent flavor enhancer or in specialty and Asian stores as the Ajinomoto. MSG seasoning has 60% less sodium than table salt, which really helps reduce the sodium in our recipe while boosting the flavor. So let's jump to the recipe. First, I'll preheat the oven to 400. While that's preheating, I'll prepare the butternut squash. I'll add 1 teaspoon of olive oil, some sea salt, pepper, and MSG seasoning. From there, I'll mix it thoroughly with my hands before placing it on a lined baking sheet. Place that in your preheated oven, and we'll repeat the process with the asparagus and prepare the salmon while the butternut squash is cooking. Set the timer for 15 minutes, and then we'll add in the asparagus and the salmon. After rinsing off my asparagus, I like to chop it into small pieces because I think people are more likely to eat more of it if it's in bite-sized chunks. I'll start with cutting off the ends and then cutting the rest into small pieces. I can move this into the same bowl that I used for the butternut squash, so we have less things to clean at the end. If you find any wimpy tops to your asparagus, you can just chop those off and discard them, and still use the rest of the asparagus. From here, I'm preparing my asparagus the same way I did the butternut squash, with olive oil, sea salt, pepper, and MSG seasoning. Then I'll toss it with my hands like I did the butternut squash. Set that aside and we'll start on the salmon. So first I'll take the juice of 1 whole lemon. I like to squeeze mine into a separate bowl so I can easily get the seeds out. I'll go in to get the seeds with a fork. Next I'll start on the dill. So I want to remove the leaves from the sprig. This hard part is not very fun to chew. From there I'll mince it. And then I can set this aside. Last up we have the garlic. I can press down on the flat side of my knife to easily remove the outer casing. Now I can chop off this hard end. And mince the rest of my garlic. If you have 1 large sheet pan, you can simply scooch over the butternut squash and add the rest of your ingredients. If you don't have 1 large sheet pan, you can use a separate sheet pan. On this separate sheet pan, you'll add the asparagus and the salmon before adding it to the oven with the butternut squash. Let's finish preparing the salmon on the sheet pan. So first I'll add a teaspoon of olive oil, which you can spread around with the back of the teaspoon. My garlic, lemon juice, and fresh dill. If you find that your lemon was super juicy and it's getting all over the place, don't add all of it. You can also whisk together all of the toppings for the salmon and then pour it on top of the salmon. Now let's add the salmon to the oven with the butternut squash, placing them both vertically on the middle rack. From there, we'll cook it for another 15 to 20 minutes until the salmon is cooked through thoroughly and no longer pink in the middle. After 15 to 20 more minutes, your salmon is ready to come out. If you're using a meat thermometer, the internal temperature should read 145 degrees Fahrenheit. If you cooked your salmon with the skin on, it should peel off easily using a spatula. For the full recipe, visit my website, and I hope to catch you here soon.